welcome to the video today. Kind of excited. If you guys know, I have the WirelessOne air system on my truck for the airbags and all that. And I also added the Viair Ultra Duty 200 psi 2.5 gallon air tank onboard air system. I plumbed that stuff together and made a video on it, and it worked great for, I'm going to say, probably about 7 or 8 months. And then the air manifold, the Bluetooth manifold, started leaking. And when it started leaking, I couldn't find one, a replacement. And it should have been about $160 is what I'm seeing, whether everyone's sold out of stock. But I finally found one. Airlift had one. I called them the other day. So I'm going to try to get all this stuff back going. But one thing I'm going to do, now, I had this old air pressure regulator sitting around, and it's got some age on it. I came out earlier, going to go ahead and put that on and see if it was going to work for me. I want to cut that air pressure and volume down, because the little factory compressor, it only puts out, I think, max out at 100 psi, and I'm pushing 200 psi into it. So I want to turn this down to like 80. I don't recall ever having to put over 75 pounds of air in the bags, so I think 80 is a good number. But this one broke, so let me show you what I got. Here are the parts I've got today, and this is the one I'm the most excited about. I did just kind of open it up. I was curious, did it come with a remote and different things? And there is some literature in that, but we don't care nothing about that. This right here is what I've been waiting on, and we're going to get that installed today. And then I went and bought this. It's a air pressure regulator that's rated at 200 psi, and the drain valve. If you guys remember me putting the drain valve on, it had done pretty good. This is the heater. This is the actual mechanical drain valve. But what I had a bad habit of doing, and this is a me thing, I think, there's like a shredder valve right in here, and I keep pushing that shredder valve to see how much moisture I'm getting out. See, is it doing its job? I'm not seeing, after I installed that, I didn't really see any air to talk, or water to talk about in my air tank. Like used to, I'd see the water spraying out of the air nozzle whenever I would, with air. And if I used any kind of a pneumatic tool, it would have, it would get moisture on it too. But after I installed this, the majority of that dried up. But I think I kept pushing this button so much that I think I actually broke it, because it started leaking right there. So we got a new one of these. The old one came from Brianna Auto Parts. This is a Torque Parts brand. But I'll leave the link in the description to this, and for this and this is just I don't know what to say if you need one of these, but I will leave the link to the whole kit, And then I've also been meaning to do this. I'm gonna change a lot of my fittings over from the quick connect fittings like this over to the compression fittings like that. That's something I've been wanting to do for a while. And now I'm gonna spray everything down, check for air leaks. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take all this stuff apart. It's pretty quick, pretty self-explanatory. Just take the air line off right here. And I did already drain the air out of the tank. Make sure you do that. You don't want any of this stuff flying off at 200 psi behind it. And earlier on, I did change. I had this tucked in here where it would be protected, and I had this out here where I could get to it to pull it if I needed to for the air release. But this regulator is not going to fit that way. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and take this stuff out. And then if you notice on the air pressure regulator, it says in, out, for the gauge, out for something else. If you had like, I'm gonna say a water filter or another accessory, if you need to put the gauge on this side, it would be fine. But you make sure you got where it says in, make sure that is turned toward the tank, and out going to your accessory. Now I've got one of these to go in right here. It's a metal to metal, and make sure I'm putting it right side. So this will go right here, and that will thread into there like that. And I always use some thread sealant
when I'm doing this kind of stuff. And in my experience, it doesn't take a whole heck of a lot. So just a little bit right here. Trying to make sure not to get into that hole. Now I'm also going to put a little bit on the other side, which is probably not the best idea I've had all day to try to do both of it while it's in my hand. But now I'll thread this right in here. These fittings don't have to be just super tight, but you do want them snug enough that they're not going to leak. And I'm also going to go ahead and take the gauge off at this time. And I'm going to set it to the side. And then go ahead and thread this on. Now there's not a lot of way to turn this without putting a lot of pressure on it, so I'm going to be as gentle as I can and snug it up by hand. That's where it bottoms out. That's as tight as I want to go with that. Now I'm going to go ahead and take and turn this just a little bit more to get the gauge back around here where I can get at the gauge. And I want that gauge to be facing up where I can see it between the step and the body when I look in right here. And then this is how you're going to adjust it, and the depth tank is going to hopefully keep anything from coming through and hitting that. Now get our gauge. Apply just a little bit of thread sealant on it. Well, it was a little bit too much, but a little bit. Try to keep it from getting in that hole. And my theory on this is once you start turning it, threading it into the hole it's going into, is it will actually spread out and go where it needs to go. That should be about where I want it. Now I'll take the piece that I had just taken out of the tank, apply just a little bit more thread sealant, and like I say, instead of rubbing it around my fingers and getting that stuff all over me, I'm just going to let the threads level it out. Now that I've got my fittings where I want them, I'm going to put the airline back on. Let's snug this up. And that's what we have. And that's what I can see when I'm out just checking things out. I'll be able to see the air pressure and reach up under the step and make a mild adjustment if I need to.
So here's my gauge. It reads 0 to 220, and we got a little ways to go before we hit the 200 cutoff, and then when I hear it cut off, we'll come back and check it out. So here we are looking through from the step, and now that we have 200 psi on the main gauge back there, we're going to pull this knob down and rotate it. We're going to bring it up to 80 psi. And what I'm hoping that this does and then push the lock back in. What I'm hoping this does is slows down the flow slow enough going to the WirelessOne box that it doesn't put so much pressure that it tears something up. Like I say, I don't blame this on airlift. I believe this is just me. Now, I did choke it down as much as I could with 3/16 airline. It goes right into this block right here. 3/16 on one side, 1/4 inch on the other. And whenever the manifold sends the signal to turn the original air compressor on, instead of going to the original air compressor, it goes to this valve, and it actually opens that valve to let air pass through from this tank into the airbags. Now, alright, this here is the wire for the heater, for the drain that we're going to put back on, reinstall here in a little bit. And that's what that is if you see it hanging. But this here, that's the airlift WirelessOne box. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the mounting screws out, unplug it, take the air lines out, and clean everything up, mount the new one back in its place, and plug it in. And then I have one more connection, air connection, where I bypassed the box and went where I could just straight fill it back in there. I'm going to change that over and everything should work. Trying to get the best angle on all this I can for you guys. I've already got the WirelessOne controller unscrewed and loose. I'm going to take these screws out so they don't fall out. I've already lost one. And then there are the airline connections, and I'll show you that in a minute. You probably already know. You just push in on one side, the quick connects, and then pull against the airline, and they just pop right out. Now the next thing is the electrical connection. It's been so long since I put this on, I don't really remember how it comes off, but right like that. So right here is the old compression, the old air manifold, and what's wrong with it is when you put air pressure on it, it doesn't seal off. It airs up and then it leaks right back down. It airs up, it leaks right back down. And here's the collar I was talking about. You just push that collar in, pull the airline out, and when you pull against it, it tightens back up. I should probably trim these ends, but I can do that after the system is back together. So here is the new airlift WirelessOne manifold, and we're going to go ahead and plug it in, put it back up, put the screws in, tighten it back up to the frame, and then we'll reinstall our airlines. All right, we're done with that part. When I plumbed this in, I did it for a reason, the way that I did it, and now it's not the, it could have been done a little bit better. It could be a little bit cleaner and all that, but this fitting right here and this airline right here are so if something were to have happened to that airlift system, that I could still get in and fill up the bags manually. Now there's going to be a gush of air. Now we'll get the other side, just push in and pull, and I always carry that with me in case there is a problem where I can air them up without having the onboard air. I can just air them up at a filling station or something. Push this in really tight. Push this one in really tight, and I'm expecting a leak right here, but just to test the new manifold out and see if it works, that's fine. And I will come back and put compression fittings right here, and that should stop any leak that may be going on. But in all honesty, I've not seen any leaks back here with the airbag portion. So now let's go put a fuse in it and see what happens. This is the AI box that I did a review on not long ago. We're going to go ahead and hit the WirelessOne app. It comes up and it is in landscape mode, but it still works. The functionality of it looks fine. You see, this is the old one, this is the new one. It should be in pairing mode. To get into pairing mode, you just pull the fuse out and reconnect it, and that should enable this to connect to the newer airlift manifold. Well, I'm sorry about that, guys. I clicked the air conditioner. It's getting hot in here, but anyway, you can see it popped up. It's showing 8 psi, so I'm gonna double tap 40. It's gonna go to 40 psi. I feel the truck raising up. It is working as it should. You see the numbers going up right here. It went to 40. Now we're gonna drop it back to 5. See the numbers going down right here. Everything is working as it should right from the dash of my truck. I think that's pretty freaking sweet. So, and also if you did want to manually set it on a number, you just do that and it goes right to that number. There it goes right there. The compressor just kicked on because I'm playing with it, taking air in, taking air out, but there it is on the dash of the truck. Now the next thing that I want to show, and I really hope you guys can see this, is in order to put the remote into pairing mode, it took me a minute to figure that out earlier. All you do on that is push both of these buttons at the same time. The device menu comes up right there. I think it says pairing devices. Click OK. It shows you what devices are there. That's it. So you click OK again and it will pair, but I've already done that. So let's get out and I'll show you how it works. The gauge move, keeping the pressure regulated so it's not putting that full 200 psi into it. Keep in mind that is a 160 psi gauge, and I've got it set, I think I had it set on right around 80. So happy with that. So the only thing I got now left to do is to put the new water drain on and put the compression fittings on. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get this wire stripped back where I can get at it. And whenever this thing failed on me, I just put some shrink wrap over the top of it to keep it from getting against anything. So I'm just going to let it hang right there for a second. And we'll go ahead and take this off. So the next thing is installing a drain valve. So we're going to take this drain valve out, which is just a ball valve that you turn it open and it drains all the water out. And we're going to get ready to thread this one back in. So once again, we're going to need a little pipe sealant, thread sealant, better yet. Not too much, just kind of smear it around. And this is one of the easier installations that I've done as far as anything goes on the truck. That's it. Now all we gotta do is connect this wire to this wire, which shouldn't be a big deal either. Well, I'd hoped to use the next size smaller, but it wouldn't fit. So we're going to take this, run it right through here. Take this, run it right through here. Then we're going to heat this up and let that solder melt down on these wires. Wind keeps trying to blow my flame out. When I first started using these connectors, I wasn't sure how I was going to like them, but the more I use them, the more I really like them.
I may come back and put some tape on it later on, but I think it did a really good job.
I can't tell you guys how excited I am to have my daggone air back working. It's been like 6-7 months that I have been looking for one of these, you know, just a replacement part without having to order the whole kit. It was like $245. The whole kit was like $450, so I'm still glad I got it. I was kind of aggravated that the warranty, if you install it yourself, it's a 2-year warranty. If you have it all installed by an authorized dealer, it's a 4-year warranty. My way of looking on it is if it lasts 2 years and 2 months, it was probably installed correctly, you know. But anyway, I'm not holding that against them, because I do think what actually caused this to go bad is me putting 200 psi air in it. Even though I choked it down to a lot smaller airline, you know, I'm hoping the regulator works out a whole lot better. Anyway, I will buy Airlift again. I have no problem with their parts or their company or their customer service, and I just did buy Airlift again. So, you know, I like their stuff. I like that my remote's working now. I ran over my remote and I had ordered a new one. I think I got it off Amazon. When I got it, it was kind of hit and miss, but I realized today that where the ground touches on the inside where the batteries go, it wasn't touching very good. So I pulled it up a little bit. It's right on time now. Every time you hit the button, it comes on, and like I say, everything's working just like it should. I just hit the preset for 40 psi. The truck's coming up. I like that it slowed down. If you guys saw from before, when I hit it, it would just pop up, and that makes me feel better about it choking the air back to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and reset it back to 8. Now, the DV2 air drain. The other one this one is from Brianna Auto Parts. The other one is Torque. The name brand on it is Torque. Do I think that this just failed? No. I have a bad problem of playing with things, and I kept taking my pocket knife and a key, and that truck's gonna be really loud, but a pocket knife, key, or whatever, and pushing up in here and pushing that valve to see how much water I was getting out of it. If I would have left it alone, I feel like it would still be working. And I did notice it's been well over 6 months, I believe, that it's been on there. I mean, it was back last winter, you know, and it's September now, so I want to say like January, February when I put it on. So it's been on there well over 6 months, and I never had an issue. This is for the heater to keep this thing from freezing and busting when it gets moisture in it. I never had a problem with like feeling like it was around my battery dead. I noticed that when I would run my air blower or whatever I may be using, I wasn't getting the moisture that I was before I bought this, which that's why I bought it. That made me happy. That's why I spent another $60 to $70 on another one. And the reason I didn't go back with the Brianna Auto Parts is because I found that one first, you know. Anyway, I still think this is a good thing. If I didn't, I wouldn't have bought another one. And you guys probably heard me talk about having an issue with my air compressor. One thing after another, and I did have an issue out of the air compressor. The issue with the air compressor was this thing was slowly leaking out of that valve, slow enough that I didn't realize I had a leak. But then I started blowing fuses, and I would replace the fuse. I would drive from point A to point B, my fuse is blown again. The reason my fuse was blowing is because I was overworking the compressor. It was running nearly all the time trying to keep up. So this time, another thing that I found, and I did not know that they made these, but I know in the 18-wheelers I've driven, they have breakers instead of fuses, a lot of them. And I got to thinking, man, that would be awesome if I had a breaker, because I was looking for a short. I thought I had a wire shorted out against metal. Well, come to find out, that thing was losing air, and it was just running the compressor all the time. So I got on Amazon and I typed in mini fuse breaker, and these popped up. This is a 20 amp, and the compressor calls, I want to say it called for a 30 amp, but I know I've got a lesser amperage breaker than what's supposed to be in it, because if there is a short, I don't want it to sit there and just keep getting the wiring hot, you know. I want it to kick as soon as it can. But it is an automatic resetting breaker, so if something happens and it kicks the breaker or kicks the fuse, then it will automatically reset itself when it cools down. I like that. I'll leave a link to those in the description too. And I do believe that my air setup is completely back fixed. Like I said, I did crawl up under it and I sprayed everything down with a spray bottle. I was going to show you guys that, but y'all seen people check for leaks before, I'm sure. But I didn't see any leaks to amount to anything. If I would have, I would have got it on camera. So I'm going to keep these compression fittings because I'm hot and I got something else I need to do today. In the event that I develop a leak, whether I'm out on the road or whether I'm at home, I'll fix them. I'll put these on at that time. So anyway, I'm tickled to death that everything's back working. I love that I can control the WirelessOne from my dash with the AI box, and I can control it from my phone or I can control it from the remote. So don't really need all that, but you know, I like it. So anyway, I'm gonna end this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have an air setup, comment and let me know what you got. I'm curious because I've been thinking, I've got friends that they like mine but they don't want to spend that kind of money, and I've been thinking about ordering the pressure switches, and I've got old 18-wheeler parts laying all over the place, and I was thinking about maybe finding some air tanks. And I'm also wanting to put an air tank on another truck that I got, and I'm thinking about doing that one just makeshift kit from home. You know, get a pressure switch, and a compressor would be the most expensive part. But if you got one, let me know what you got. I'm curious to see. Alright guys, thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next video.